jumping right back into game.
Oh, maybe. Let's go.
What do you expect them to be running?
Oh my god. I
Red
think Red
Rush?
Rush. Looks like Red
Well,
Rush.
I think we're seeing something consistent. Players think Rush is the way
Yeah,
to go in these qualifiers.
Rush is the new black or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so keeping X Grinder, that seems. I mean, X Grinder is one of your best cards, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Did we
Meanwhile,
see any cards that were a little bit strange in the Yellow Rush deck? Like, we didn't see
Flash
Flash Winds from Crunchy, right?
Crunchy's version looked pretty standard from what I could tell. Modgnik's had a bit more spice,
A
let's
bit
say.
more flair, yeah. Who do you
Yeah,
think is favored then, right? With the regular Yellow Rush, you would think Red Rush is favored, right?
yeah. I mean, I still think Red Rush is probably favored. Yeah, in fact, yeah. Crunchy's just running a standard yellow list, so everything we were saying last round about it being hard for yellow creatures to trade still applies. Wow, that's really
That was really
yeah.
passive. He didn't even decide to land block.
Well, I think land blocking would have been more passive, but I mean, I guess he's got one more turn to land block. No, he doesn't, because if a desert comes out here, then he land blocks, um, Crunchy can just use a haste unit to step
Yeah.
on it. So
The
okay,
opponent can't ciphers because he doesn't have any mountains developed, so playing the follower is almost unpunishable. The only thing that could be annoying is if he drops an outcast cemetery in front of his orb to try and block the follower from
so
hitting
Modgnik
face.
got quite rewarded by drawing a neutral creature. So Crunchy double landed, I think mainly because he faced Axe Grinder. So without haste units, Red Rush having this corner spot where you can collect and hit face isn't quite as big a deal. But yeah, you really don't want Axe Grinder specifically
This
there.
is another one of those strange plays where he can clear a board, but now he misses out on collecting a
Right.
Farrier because he chose not to use the monk first.
He missed 1 HP on his vampire because
Right.
he
If he,
didn't
he- if he had
heal.
if he had played the monk to hit into the axe grinder and then soul drained the
Yeah, he
4/1
could
protection
plus one
and then
mana and play
vampired,
a 7/7 instead of a 7/6.
it would be a
So
7/7 and up one Farrier, right?
I guess the nerves getting to Bacon a bit. But that said, he's still in quite a good spot. I mean, I think Modnik has to block him now, right? Because we given enough time, Red Rush outscales since Red Rush's mechanic, like scaling mechanic, works off time basically. It's how many higher attacks than each HP creatures you play, whereas Yellow Rush's outscale mechanic relies on hitting face.
Right.
So yeah, exactly. So with Outcast Tower, Modnik kind of freezes all board control aspects if you
Wow,
don't.
and what a draw. Do
Oh
you
wow.
consider playing the Wind Soldier in front of your orb to charge up there, kill the outcast, and drop
And
an
then drop a
aggressive desert?
follower. Yeah, drop a follow and hit face.
Well, you can't play that because you're Farrier short, but you could get the desert.
Oh.
Or do you think just overriding a land, playing a follower, and stepping up is
I
better?
I think there's no reason to do it this turn if you can't play anything off it. Like I
Fair
find it very
enough.
unlikely that Modnik's going to play a large enough neutral creature to block the vampire in front of this path. But it was a really good draw for Crunchy Bacon because it lets him get rid of all this land block. Like look at how many lands Modnik's invested in saying you don't you don't have the option of going aggressive. Whereas now Crunchy Bacon can. He can just win Soldier all the way up and drop a Shaitan Demon if he wants to. And at that point, Modric's the one who has to find a way to close out because his deck doesn't really have good defensive
Do you
tools.
do you even bother killing the outcast cemetery? Because the axe grinder could potentially double collect. So do you just
Yeah,
Wind Soldier up there, aggressive land, and just drop demon and pass?
if you're dropping Demon aggressively, then the only reason to kill the Cemetery would be um, if you were dropping a haste unit this turn, so you could hit face. But
Right.
if you're not doing that, there's no point. So okay, so he's just using lands to set up collecting and using his Shaitan Demon to contest. So I guess he's he's kind of lucky here that he's not against Mazine's list, which seemed to have triple Bomb Slinger, because if
Right.
he got Bomb Slingered here, that would very much put Modric back in the game.
Yeah, you just make that mount to be double collecting with the axe grinder and just bomb slinger under the axe grinder, right? If you had it,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
for CrunchyBacon, it's kind of bad because, as you pointed out earlier, red scales just through playing creatures. So the longer this game goes, the more favored he should be.
Actually, I would have. So where Modgnik put that first neutral to block a land, I think I would have put a mountain there and moved the axe grinder one to the side in order to bomb slinger, because collecting is good and all, but red finds it very hard to defend. So you don't want to be in a situation where you're trying to double collect while the opponent's just wailing on you. So I would prefer to block the land, and you don't have to make a land next turn to make the bomb slinger double collect instead of the axe grinder.
Yeah, that's fair enough. This
So
turn for Crunchy, if you collect and +1, you go up to 9. Oh, that's not enough to win Soldier Vampire. What do you think? You just blocked with the Death Wish?
yeah, I mean, so he needs to. I would have at least considered just win soldier. Oh, you can't win soldier phase because you don't have to. I would
Yeah,
have
I
at the
can't
very
make
least
it.
stepped the vampire up. Like, you really need to get on the opponent's face. Yellow Rush. So much of its power is in haste creatures that can hit face immediately. So if you get completely landlocked, it's much worse for Yellow Rush than Red Rush. In fact, yeah, as mentioned before, look at this 2 mana hate seed. Like, the longer this game's going, the more without anyone hitting face, the more advantage Modnik's getting. Yeah, 1 mana hate seeds. Like, the clock is kind of ticking for CrunchyBacon to make something happen.
Yeah, this is looking rough for CrunchyBacon, and he hasn't been opting in to make a desert and step up with the follower and just slowly walk there. Which, do you think that's a mistake, or do you think
I,
just a lot of Red Rush players have been adding in Ground Shaker and maybe is worried about just losing to a Ground Shaker?
um, Last time I played against a lot of Red Rush, they weren't using ground shakers, but maybe he has more meta info than me there. But I think you need to do something to break Landlock. Like, maybe the vampire should have been walking up slowly so it could break it. Maybe you make another desert somewhere where you can win soldier and actually hit face and make the aggressive desert.
Oh, is
Uh,
he gonna miss out on 1 health on the vampire
yeah, it
again?
looks like it. So I guess he just doesn't know this interaction.
Yeah, that
Um,
could be the case.
But yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, shields or protection blocks drain, so the protection gets removed, but you don't get any HP. So he should have been doing this the other way around, hitting with his vampire to break the protection, and then draining it with the next vampire to have +1 HP.
Now, we say, this is looking good for Modgnik, despite the fact that CrunchyBacon has double vampire and it looks really good for Crunchy, but we know that the longer this game goes, the more
Yeah,
red is going to scale. So we're
I,
looking at this as soon as Modgnik draws into those hate seats like he just played
yeah.
now, it's looking really nice for Modgnik. And
So
this play here has already spun the board.
yeah, like depending on Modnik's exact list, like most lists run the full number of hate seeds and firebringers because they're considered really good. So Modnik probably still has. He's drawn a third of his deck and only got a sixth of the number he should. So yeah, over time he's going to be drawing more. Okay, CrunchyBacon's realized he needs to go aggressive. So this
A quick
desert
play
is.
again. Would you have thought of playing the follower to collect and drop the Sagittarius too? Because that turn, the Warbeast couldn't reach the Sagittarius, and you have Wind Soldier in hands. And if the Warbeast stepped down right, you could Wind Soldier it still from your far right desert by the well.
So yeah, I would have considered that. Um, that's
Or do you
really
think
heads
he's
up.
trying to just bank for Vampire and wait for a good Vampire line?
I
And he,
I mean he's quite close to a good vampire line, like
yeah,
one line off.
unfortunately the Outcast comes down, so he can't Monk
But he didn't
Vampire.
have it. Yeah, that would have been pretty nice for him. But I just want to say quickly that cemetery was a really heads-up play from Modgnik. So not only does it shut down his units hitting his aggressive creatures, but it stops the potential Wind Soldier path to get to his face and start dropping followers and things.
Right.
So it massively slowed down CrunchyBacon. Like we've been saying this whole time, he needs to find a way to get aggressive. He needs to attack, and this is 2 more turns. He just can't attack, and while no one's collecting and yellow has to defend, like red's hugely advantaged. These hate seeds cost 0 mana now. These firebringers are 9/9, 9/9 for 4. Like Zealous, eat your heart out.
That's interesting. Modgnik is running the, I would imagine, his 3 Steamforge Enforcers by the fact that he has 2 in his hand already.
Probably.
Do you think that it's normal for Red Rush to be running Steamforge, or do you think that's something that more players that run Outcast choose to play?
Um,
Or to rephrase that, Outcast Cemetery isn't always seen in Red Rush, and do you think when it